They say a king vanished without a body. They say another died before the battle was even won, and the third drowned while trying to escape his own destiny. 3 kings entered the same battlefield. None of them walked out. But that is not the strangest part. The strangest part is that for years people believed one of them would come back. I am Luis de Almeida, a young Portuguese noble, and the year is 1578. I was raised in the grand halls of Lisbon, dreaming of adventure beyond the court's gilded walls. But that summer, fate called me to a battlefield where 3 kings would die and a kingdom would fall. Then the rumors began to take shape. Whispers carried through marble corridors and sunlit courtyards, murmurs that refused to die. They spoke of glory. They spoke of destiny. And at the center of it all stood our young king, Sebastian of Portugal, barely a man, yet burning with a fire that none of us could extinguish. I first saw him not as a distant monarch, but as a vision. He stood before us in the great hall, sunlight pouring through stained glass, casting fragments of red and gold across his armor. His voice was not loud, yet it carried with it something far stronger than sound: conviction. "We will not wait for history to remember us," he said. "We will become history." And just like that, we were his. Lisbon transformed overnight. Blacksmiths worked without sleep, their hammers ringing like war drums. Ships filled the harbor, their sails trembling in the Atlantic wind. Priests blessed soldiers in endless lines, whispering prayers none of us truly heard, because we were already dreaming of Africa, of victory, of immortality. I was assigned to a cavalry unit under Dom Duarte, a seasoned commander whose face carried more scars than smiles. "You're too young," he told me the first time we met. "And yet I am here," I replied. He studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "Then listen more than you speak. That might keep you alive." It was the closest thing to kindness I would receive from him. We sailed at dawn. The fleet cut through the ocean like a blade, carrying thousands of men toward a land most of us had never seen. The sea was restless, as if it knew what awaited us. At night, I stood at the edge of the ship, staring into the endless dark. That was when I met Tomas. He was no noble, just a farmer's son who had never seen the ocean before this journey, yet he smiled more than any man I had ever known. "Do you think we'll be remembered?" he asked me. "For what?" I said. "For what we're about to do." I didn't answer, because I didn't know. We reached the Moroccan coast under a merciless sun. The land stretched before us, vast, dry, and silent. No cheering crowds, no welcoming banners, only heat and distance. Soon we learned the truth. This would not be a simple conquest. Waiting for us was a force far greater than we had imagined, led by Abd al-Malik, a ruler as cunning as he was ill, and shadowed by another claimant to the throne, Abu Abdallah Muhammad II. 3 kings, 1 battlefield. The march inland broke us before the enemy ever could. Water grew scarce, armor burned against our skin, horses collapsed in the dust. Men began to whisper, not of glory now, but of doubt. Even Dom Duarte grew quiet. "This is wrong," I heard him mutter one evening. "What is?" I asked. "Everything." Still we marched, because turning back was no longer an option. Not for the king, not for us. The morning of the battle arrived without warning. No grand speech, no triumphant music. Just silence, a heavy, suffocating silence that pressed against my chest as we formed our lines near the river at Alcácer Quibir Sabasha. Across the field, the enemy waited, endless, unmoving, certain. Then it began. The first clash was chaos. Steel against steel, horses screaming, men shouting prayers that dissolved into cries, the air filled with dust so thick I could barely see my own hands. I lost sight of Tomas within minutes. I never saw him again. We pushed forward at first, our banners high, our spirits unbroken, and then the encirclement. It happened so quickly it felt unreal. The enemy closed around us like a tightening fist. Commands were shouted, then lost, then ignored. There was no formation anymore, only survival. I saw Dom Duarte fall beside me, an arrow buried deep in his chest. He tried to speak, but only blood came. I wanted to help him. I didn't, because I couldn't. Somewhere in the chaos a cry spread like fire, "The king! Protect the king!" I turned just in time to see him, Sebastian, charging forward, reckless, fearless, unstoppable. And then he disappeared, swallowed by the storm of men and steel. By midday, it was over, not with a final blow, but with collapse. The river ran dark. The field was no longer a battlefield, it was a grave, and of the 3 kings who had come to claim victory, none would leave it alive. I survived. I still do not know why. Captured, broken, dragged from the field like a ghost among corpses. Days later, as I sat in chains beneath a foreign sky, the truth finally reached us. Portugal had not just lost a battle, it had lost its king, its future, its place in the world. Years have passed since that day, yet I still hear it. The clash of steel, the cries, the silence that followed, and sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I ask myself the same question Tomas once did. Will we be remembered? Yes, but not for glory, for a warning.